Everybody, welcome to the earliest alert. I'm meteorologist Brian Good. Several things to discuss. Not a whole lot in the short term. A couple of features that I want to point out, especially for tomorrow. Beautiful looking sky this morning. Nice to see that blue sky overhead, and it feels great out. That wind feels even better. I love that breeze we have out there. It's been so long since we've had wind. Kind of miss it sometimes. We've got a few clouds around the area, but looking good otherwise. Wider view shows how quiet the Ohio Valley is. We still got still a decent flow. Moving in from the north here at the surface, aloft, you can see it kind of more of a southwest flow, but we're looking great so far. You compare our temperatures, by the way, to where we were at this time yesterday. We're 10 degrees cooler, 14 degrees cooler in Indy, and 14 degrees cooler in Fort Wayne. You're going to see these values get dramatically lower coming up toward the later parts of the day when we were 92 degrees yesterday. So we will see those values quite dramatic for the evening news, but looking pretty good already. Nice to see that blue color. All right, I do want to mention we have this tropical wave that is being watched carefully by the Hurricane Center on the southern part there of Cuba. It's hard to see. If it gets named, its name will be Nate, and it would move right over the Keys into the Western Bahamas, and then not far from the Carolinas. The models do see it. GFS especially has seen it for a while. And potential is there for it to develop into a tropical storm. We'll see. I doubt a hurricane because so much land area it's going to cover. But either way, it doesn't matter. We're talking about a tremendous amount of rain, and it's moving right over the Keys. I hate that. I mean, they're just going to get inundated with flooding rains, and it's just going to slow things down for them trying to recover. So, and same thing for Cuba, really. So we'll be monitoring Nate, or what could be Nate, into the coming days. Let's talk about our setup here today. We have a second front that's going to move in tomorrow. Another trough to be digging. We've been talking about this all week. We don't have to worry about that today. We're fine this afternoon. In fact, we'll climb into the mid-70s. Normal high is 77. Good chance to get awful close to that. May fall short of it, in fact. Tonight, mainly clear. Mid-50s. We'll be in the 40s in outlying areas. Then tomorrow, here comes that second front. Now, we'll have a good amount of sun until 2, 3 o'clock. Then we'll feel the clouds begin to approach, or see the clouds approach from the north as the trough digs in, and you see it's got green painted here. A little more prevalent northeast Kentucky and Ohio. There's not a lot of moisture to work with in the atmosphere, but this bad boy, just like you would in the wintertime when we have these little troughs, clippers if you will, that try to squeeze out flurries the best they can, same deal with this. It's trying to squeeze out whatever it possibly can as it tracks through. Now the thing is that I've kept the forecast dry, but I'm starting to lean to the idea of adding at least a chance for a sprinkle or a brief shower. Reason for that is it is so cold aloft with the second trough, and the ground is still going to be able to warm decently tomorrow into the mid-70s, that I do think there will be enough of a stratocumulus field to develop that there could certainly be some raindrops out of that kind of deal. There could be just enough moisture for it to pull out of. It's not a big deal, but I know for those of you that are going to be out and about tomorrow and suddenly you see raindrops in the windshield, I can just sense the emails that are coming. Like, oh, you didn't say it was going to rain. And I'm like, oh, well, yeah, you found that one spot where there's enough moisture, and there you go. So I think I'm going to add the chance in for the midday show coming up. Not a big deal. Again, it moves on out of here, and we're into even cooler air mass as we head into Saturday. And to back that up a bit more, too, is looking at the sounding from the NAM model. You're looking at the moisture is green, temperature is red, when they're close together, saturated. And this is the ground level, and you're looking straight up in the atmosphere where planes fly, basically. And it's dry in the lower layers, certainly dry and aloft, but it's right here at about 850 millibars where we're getting enough moisture for a stratocumulus field to develop that it's possible. But again, anything that were to develop, you may end up seeing virga in the sky tomorrow, little striations in the clouds coming down, because it is so dry here at the ground. I don't know if the drops will make it. But again, I will at least put probably a small percent to account for a few that could, in case the model's wrong and perhaps these lines are a little closer together at the bottom there. Then, yeah, it would survive. So, anyway, too much about sprinkles. I don't want to talk about it anymore. All right, let's talk about... I got blurry again. Let me adjust that, sorry. Let's look at the upper air pattern for next week. Here's the GFS. Here's what it says could be Nate. We'll see. High pressure in yellow, low pressure into the greens. The key to this high moves in this weekend. It's our cold high moving in. It's going to head off to the east. The flow around a high pressure is clockwise. It goes this way. Okay? So when you're on when the high is over here, which it will be, we get the cool flow for the next couple of days. And then when the high is over here to your east, you get the wraparound, so you get more of a southeast or a south flow from high pressures. That's how this thing works. I guess you guys already know that. Okay, so the key is the high. Here it is there. Here we are on Sunday. Now let me advance this. Okay, now we're into Tuesday. The high itself is positioned basically in here. It's showing a center into here, but we're looking on the loft. But in general, the surface high is going to be right into here. So this would mean the flow would come around like this and then kind of angle itself in that fashion to where there could be some moisture being pulled off of what's happening with Nate here to provide nicely a thunderstorm chance for Tuesday. That's what the GFS is trying to do, is trying to find a place to feed in some moisture. And it will depend. If the high is down here more to the south in latitude, then you can get more of a south return, versus if the high is up here, higher latitude, then you're going to get more of an east flow and not really south. That's dry flow. So the GFS is betting on a southeast flow. We'll see how it plays out. All right, after that, high holds on until at least Friday and maybe Saturday. Then after that, we start to feel the effects of the trough building in. The high is just going to get crushed, according to the latest trends here, by the time we get into that following weekend. And then we get into a lot of low pressures moving in, and we get back to the 70s, seasonable stuff with some activity to maybe track. So that's GFS. Here's the Euro. Here's the high. And we advance it to Tuesday, maybe. Come on. Come on. Let's go. Let's go. It doesn't like me. Oh, there it goes. Now it wants to cooperate. All right, so it noticeably has it in a higher latitude. And you can even see the lines where they try to paint it as an east flow. Yes, I know they come around. You can see them come around to the north right there. But they're not coming off the Gulf of Mexico. They're coming and from the mountains here, which even more indicates a drier setup. So the Euro is betting on the ridge being higher up here in latitude, therefore we are going to be protected. We'll be fine. It holds on. In fact, we'll stay dry and really getting up there into the 80s. In fact, pushing 90 in some spots. And then after that, it also breaks down the ridge for the weekend, and a strong low here in Canada, but it tries to take it more east and that really digs it into our area, so it just kind of makes the jet kind of flat, so we get to normal levels on temperature. That's the Euro's idea, and I like it. I think it makes sense. When you look at the PNA, this is all the different model ensembles. I mean, look how sharply negative is forecast to go by this weekend. That indicates when you get that much of a negative value, you're certainly dealing with a lot of ridging, a lot of heat building in the east, and a lot of cool weather in the west. Very amplified jet stream. And that is a good indicator of that, so that's why I think the Euro is onto something. All right, looking ahead. As we're to say the 10th of October, ignore the GFS runs here. Look at the ensemble, the GFS, Euro, and even Canadian. Notice how overall it's got a dip still in the Rockies and a slight ridging here on the 10th, but it's fairly flat in the ensemble anyway. And then it's weighted to about the 14th. A bit of a dip into the area. The one thing, notice, look at the rain-snow line up here. That's where that white line in the blue is. Notice where that is in Canada. Look where it is on the 10th. And here it is as we head toward the 14th. So we'll be monitoring that. I think it's going to be cooler weather. It's going to try to dig into the middle of the month. We'll see if that happens. It's a big if. So here's how the earliest alert is going to trend. 70s, and then slowly easing into the 80s as that high moves to our east. And then as we get more of that south flow from the high, we'll get up there close to 90, and then we'll see the high kind of crumble. And we'll start to get some activity rolling down at some point between the 6th and the 8th. Appears to be the time frame for that. And we'll worry about what happens after that once we get closer. That's it for today.